Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. If you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's on the road to 100 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. If you love sports betting, sports news, daily uploads, my reactions, updated rankings every single week, special segments, anything at all in the sports world, it's all right here on the Talk of the Town podcast. So I promise you, your subscription will be well worth it and much, much appreciated. So let's get into today's video. Today, we're going to be reacting to some of my favorite games from yesterday's Sunday slate. We're going to talk a little bit about Monday Night Football tonight. I wish I could talk about every single Sunday night game. Unfortunately, I can't. I'd make 2.5 hour episodes every single day on the channel if I could. But anyone who knows me, or if you're new here, I got college in a few hours, so I have to get up my full length video on YouTube, get out some short clips on social media, edit it all, and get it out there, and then get ready and go straight to college right after. So unfortunately, I'm on a little bit of a time crunch, but if your game, your favorite team isn't talked about here today, every Thursday, since I have Top 10 Tuesday, I go over my top 10 teams, update the rankings, which, forewarning, the top 10 this week is having massive changes due to the amount of upsets we had yesterday. Wednesday, I answered your guys' questions on why not Wednesday here on the channel. And Thursday is just kind of my catch-up day. Talk about maybe some of the games I missed, just go over some of my reactions to things, some of my predictions, stuff like that. Just kind of a sit-down talk, kind of chit-chat about everything, catch up a little bit on stuff I missed today. And Friday we have slips for Sunday. So if you like sports betting, Fridays is your day as well. So let's get into today's video. We're going to start off talking about Monday Night Football tonight. Lions versus the Ravens. This is kind of the first really good primetime game we've had so far this year. Primetime games have been pretty bad, to be honest with you. Last night, Giants versus Chiefs was pretty brutal to watch. Sorry, Giants and Chiefs fans, but I think Giants fans would definitely agree with me. Maybe not Chiefs fans so much. They got their first win of the season, so good for them. But Russell Wilson is borderline unwatchable. We had that game last week where he threw for a career high in passing yards, but all it is the moon balls on the sideline. That's all it is. Russell Wilson can't really do anything else, to be honest with you. People are already chanting for Daboll, which they have been now for the last few years, and especially Russell Wilson. I don't even know how he's still starting. I guess that game last week kind of saved him from being benched. I can only imagine they're either going to give Jameis or Dart a chance. You have two quarterbacks that are way better than Russell Wilson right now that would perform way better than Russell Wilson. So you're starting probably your third worst quarterback on your roster. You've started in 3 games, so it's just not a good look. To be completely honest with you, at least Jameis brings you some life. He may throw 3 interceptions a game, but dude, he'll throw 4 touchdowns and keep you competitive. There's no doubt about it. The turnovers is his issue. If he didn't have a turnover issue, Jameis would be a top 5 quarterback every year. His yardage and touchdowns per game is just ridiculous. He just throws the same amount of interceptions as he does touchdowns, if not more. But we had the Bills and Dolphins Thursday night. Even though Thursday night games aren't great anyway, that's where they kind of throw their for example, the Jags and Panthers. They're kind of just games, you had to put these teams out on prime time, so they throw you out on Thursday Night Football. Even though that game was pretty down to the wire, I think most of America, if not the world, knew the Buffalo Bills were going to win that game regardless whether it was by 40 or 3 points. We knew the Bills were going to win that game anyway. But tonight, Ravens versus Lions is going to be a really good game. Some worrisome injuries for the Ravens. So Matabike, one of their best defensive linemen on the team, if not their best defensive lineman, best pass rusher, is going to be out. And that's kind of worrisome, considering that the Lions' offensive line is already one of, if not the best in the NFL. Really, really top-tier unit. We've seen what they were last year and what they looked like last game against the Bears. You let Jared Goff sit back there and pass against you, you're going to get eaten alive. And the Ravens secondary already has this question mark. Zach Gore's defensive scheming is already kind of, as it is, pretty shaky. Even though they had a really good game against Cleveland last week, but it's kind of hard to make Joe Flacco look good, to be honest with you. Or I don't know if I said that right, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. Joe Flacco is not very good, even though props to him, they did win against the Packers on Sunday. I'm going to talk about that game in a little bit, man. What an upset right there. There goes my survivor pool down the drain, if anyone was wondering. But that's going to be a really good game tonight. If I had to take a team to win, I'd maybe go Detroit. The Ravens play calling at the beginning of the season is always very weird. The Ravens season goes as follows. Every single year for the last God knows how long now. Let's just say the Lamar Jackson era. First couple of games, first like 3-4 weeks or so, you run the ball with Derrick Henry a shit ton. Then you stop giving it to him for a game or two at a time. And then you end up losing games you should be winning. Cough, the Bills game. I do give Bills the credit the first week, but Ravens should have won that game. They had that game won and just choked it away. The defense completely underperforms and just, you guys already know. You see the Ravens games. And then they go in the middle of the season where they dominate from week 5 to week 17. They dominate, and that's when they finish 12-5, 13-4, and go on to compete for the number 1 seed in the AFC. And then they get to the playoffs. They win a game or two, and then they stop running the football. That is the Ravens season as follows for the last 7 years. That's why I am a little concerned with the Ravens this game. In terms of roster-wise, these two rosters are pretty top tier in the entire National Football League, especially the Ravens and the Lions. I mean, they're both arguably top 5 rosters. I think the Ravens definitely are. If you want to argue the Lions are top 5 or maybe a little lower, they're easily a top 10 roster in the NFL. But it's going to be a really good game tonight. I think this game's going to be a shootout. I think both of these defenses have their holes, some of their issues. The Ravens secondary kind of worries me a little bit. These guys, they have names back there. They have a lot of really top-notch names. Jair Alexander, whether or not he's Jair Alexander from a few years ago, I'm not going to judge that off of one really bad Bills game. But, we'll find out. Maybe it takes him a couple games to kind of break it in. Unfortunately, this is one of those couple of games to break it in for him. This will be his second game. I don't think he did play against Cleveland last week. So, and it's clearly looks like he's borne some sort of injury. The Lions offense, man, the Ravens secondary plays kind of shaky like it has been. I'm going to take the Lions in this game. Jahmyr Gibbs, no Matt BK, no Isaiah Likely still, no Patrick Ricard. These guys were kind of supposed to be back after week 1, and they haven't been, which is kind of worrisome. Like Likely was talked about as, he's going to miss week 1, but he'll be back right after that, and we just want to make sure he's good after week 1. But we're kind of in week 3 now. We are in week 3 now, and nothing. He's still out, so that's kind of worrisome. The Ravens offense, I think, could really use him. He's a big-time vertical threat tight end, which is kind of hard to have in this league, man. He's a jump up, go and get it kind of guy. One of the more underrated tight ends in the league for sure. I mean, if he was on pretty much any other team, he'd be the bona fide starting tight end for sure. I think as the season goes on for Baltimore, I think Likely will definitely take the role over Andrews. Andrews has just not been good. I think Andrews is washed up, to be honest with you. Last year, he wasn't great. He was all right last year. He's just in spurts now. I think you're going to see a couple of really good games from Andrews this year. But I think the Mark Andrews of being consistent is over. I think that's over for him. I think he's had one too many injuries. And he's always been kind of inconsistent catching the football anyway, to be completely honest with you. Mark, of course, the game against the Bills last year may have legitimately costed Lamar Jackson a Super Bowl ring. Whether or not they would have went on to go and beat Kansas City, we do not know. I think they very well could have, but they didn't get there, and that very well could have costed. If they would have went into overtime and beat Buffalo, that may have costed Lamar Jackson a Super Bowl championship or at least an appearance. People kind of they talk about that, but they don't talk about that enough, to be completely honest with you. Lamar could legitimately have a ring on his finger if Mark Andrews did have butterfingers, to be honest. So that's just brutal. I think they should have gotten rid of him. I think that's kind of holding the Ravens back a little bit. I think Mark Andrews is. I know people aren't going to necessarily like me for saying that, but I think sometimes you kind of hold on to dead wood in the organization. Cough, Travis Kelce's kind of dead wood for the Chiefs right now. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to go down as one of the greatest tight ends of all time. Some people have him regarded as the greatest tight end of all time. But Travis Kelce's kind of dead wood on the Chiefs. I don't know if you've seen that clip last night of Andy Reid bumping into him and getting all pissed off. Clearly something's not going well there, and he's just washed up. So that's kind of gives me Mark Andrews vibes a little bit, even though he doesn't quite have the aura and the, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but just, I guess, the greatness in the organization Travis Kelce's had for the Chiefs. Mark Andrews definitely doesn't have that for the Ravens. People love him there, but he'll be forgotten once he leaves Baltimore after a few years, to be honest with you. He didn't win anything there. Sorry, I'm kind of on the Mark Andrews rant, but that just kind of goes into what I'm concerned about with the Ravens offense, to be honest with you. Is I think they really need Isaiah Likely back. But I think this game could go either way. Ravens, Lions. I think I'm going to take the Detroit Lions tonight. Healthy Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield, I think could legitimately eat the Ravens alive. He is one of, if not the most dynamic running back in the NFL. Dude is just a speedster, and the Ravens defense genuinely concerns me. Trust me, I live in a house full of Ravens fans. I went to a Ravens game every single week. They have players, but I don't like Zach Orr calling the defense, to be completely honest with you. So I am going to take Detroit in this game. I think people feel like the Ravens feel like, the heavy favorite. People are kind of like, I think the Ravens are definitely going to win this game. The Lions feel like they did a few years ago to where they were pretty slept on and kind of crept up. I think people do take Detroit more seriously than they did a few years ago, but they're not really talking about Detroit being a top dog in the NFC, and I definitely think they still are. They put up 52 points last week against, Bears defense that isn't great, but isn't necessarily bad either. I think the Lions could go out here and stun Baltimore tonight. I think they're going to. I think Detroit is going to win this game tonight. Next game I want to talk about here, the game that almost legitimately gave me a heart attack yesterday, just from the amount of stress that quite literally felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but the Pats versus Steelers. That was not only, so you could pinpoint back to every single game, and you can say that, this is the reason this team lost. This team beat themselves this game. But you can only pinpoint to maybe a couple of plays. Now, I've never seen a team beat themselves so bad than the Patriots did. I've never seen a team beat themselves so much. I just haven't. I mean, every single week a team beats themselves. Multiple teams beats themselves. You could argue every single team, if they fixed that, if they didn't do this, they would have won the game easily. Every single team. But Patriots played better than Pittsburgh in pretty much every single aspect of the game yesterday, and ended up losing the game. And I was talking on my couch, and I was like, you know what? There's just no way New England wins this game. You have multiple turnovers at the 1 yard line. We're not even talking about by midfield. We're talking about like literally the 1 to 5 yard line. Ramondre Stevenson has to get it under control. 2 fumbles yesterday. Though he had one at the opening, during the opening drive of the game, was just really bad. Just the ball just got coughed up. I mean, it wasn't like someone came in and punched out of his hands. He just coughed the ball up going down to the ground. And Steelers had a pretty good defensive game plan yesterday in terms of getting the ball out. But their passing defense was not good at all. Drake May had like 14 straight completions. He was kind of carving them up, to be honest with you. Their secondary could not handle the Patriots receiving core. It's just kind of crazy to say. I predicted this last week. I said, this Steelers defense is depleted. This is not a great defense. Now, their pass rush played really good yesterday, but their secondary is not very good. Their secondary is a lot of kind of older players. Deshaun Elliott, I can't remember if he played. I don't think he played yesterday. Jalen Ramsey is a shell of himself. Stephon Diggs didn't do much yesterday, so I think Jalen Ramsey contained it pretty well, but it turns out Hunter Henry was just seemed to always be open in the middle of the field. Drake May made some really good passes. I seen Colin Cowherd in them say yesterday night that Drake May's interception was the worst of the day. It was horrible. They said it was just completely his fault. I was like, dude, the ball got tipped by Cameron Hayward. That's how you know certain people do not watch the football game. They did not watch maybe more than 1 minute of that football game yesterday. I can assure you they didn't. They're sitting there saying that was the worst. They went and glanced over their TV and looked and said, oh, that was horrible. But they didn't show the replay because I thought at first he just threw a pick. And I was like, yeah, that's a really bad interception. But the ball got tipped at the line, or else it was going to be a touchdown. He would have easily had him for a touchdown, but Cameron Hayward made a great play and tipped the football. That's not necessarily Drake May's fault. And I see people talking, Coward then were saying yesterday as well, he needs another 15 games. Is this guy really the guy for New England? I'm like, dude, He threw 14 straight completions. He was carving up that secondary, running all over the team. Now his fumble yesterday was horrible, and that's one of the things I said is why he's one of the youngest quarterbacks in the NFL. So even in his second year, I think he's like 22 years old. He's my age. He's literally my age. So he's got to be patient, and that's what I'm saying. That fumble yesterday was the formula of him being so young and still inexperienced. You got to throw the ball away. Once the play breaks down, don't play hero ball, throw the ball away. I was sitting there saying, throw it away. I was literally screaming at my TV. And he didn't. I mean, I knew something disastrous was coming when he was trying to make a play, and he was hot. He was feeling red hot. He was on that completion streak, which half of me wonders if the completion streak he was trying to not throw an incompletion because he was on like 11 straight completions or something like that. And the announcers kept talking about it. You wonder if that was in his head, like, okay, I don't want to throw this away. I'm trying to make something happen. Which he was doing all game. He was making incredible things happen, but that fumble is inexcusable. We got to throw the ball away. No doubt about that. That fumble was bad. The interception was not really his fault. Like I said, the ball got tipped in the end zone. People going on and talking about that interception. It's like, guys, the ball was tipped at the goal line. That was not his fault. That's how you know they didn't watch for more than 20 seconds of that football game. Steelers offense was really bad yesterday. They had the first couple of drives that looked good, but after that, man, I mean, and then they had the last drive of the game to Calvin Alston for the touchdown. That offense was terrible. And that's the thing with the Steelers is what's concerning is how far is this offense going to get them? Because in cold weather, I mean, we're still playing in warm weather right now. And Aaron Rodgers looks old. That's the thing. And I said this, Aaron Rodgers looks really, really old. And it's really concerning for Pittsburgh because their offensive line is not great as it is anyway. And he took a couple hits yesterday. He was sitting down. He kind of reached for his back, reaching for his arm. He's taking some shots back there. And it's only going to get worse when it's cold out. Those hits are going to feel 50 times worse when it's 20 degrees in Pittsburgh. And he's not playing in Miami. He's not playing in San Francisco. You're playing in a cold weather state. So it kind of worries me when it gets cold out, how much more effective Pittsburgh's going to be because their offense doesn't look good now. When it's 20 degrees out there in Pittsburgh or in Buffalo, when it's -3 degrees in a snowstorm, how good is this team really going to be in late December, early December, November even when it starts getting cold out? It's worrisome. I'm definitely worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers a little bit. But that was a vintage classic. Mike Tomlin shouldn't have won the game, but wins the game kind of win. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Patriots fan. Trust me, man. I mean, that defense played really good. The secondary didn't play great. I think any Steelers fan would agree that secondary was getting carved up yesterday. But, man, the amount of turnovers they created was something, I mean, that's a Mike Tomlin kind of win right there. That's a Mike Tomlin team win. The goal line, Ramondre Stevenson, they knock it out at the 1 yard line. I think they might quite literally be getting ready to put Ramondre Stevenson back on the job market. He might be looking to be an accountant or something here in a few weeks because they just kept punching the ball out of his hands. And that's been an issue for me. It's 7 fumbles last year. You can't have someone on your team who fumbles like that. You can't do it. If he fumbles, has another game-critical fumble, he'll be off New England. I don't even know who's going to sign him. He's great when he's not fumbling the ball, but these costly turnovers are brutal for this Patriots team. And Steelers, I think, as much as I say I'd like to see him only getting better, like I said, man, the cold weather coming up, you have an older quarterback. The offense does not look good at all, and they're healthy. That's the thing. That offense is healthy. The running back room is brutal there. Jaylen Warren broke off a couple of good runs at the beginning of the game, but after that, man, that running back room stinks in Pittsburgh. So definitely, Pittsburgh has some issues. They're 2-1 right now, and they're going to grind out some more of those Mike Tomlin shouldn't have won the game, but they win the game regardless kind of wins. Like their team, you look at the statistics, you look at them play, they shouldn't even be within 20 points of the game. But they just managed to get some strip sack, get an interception, get some tip ball in the air. The dark magic kind of wins for Mike Tomlin, man. So Pittsburgh pulled it off again yesterday. They're now 2-1. Their schedule, they have a bit of a rough patch coming up here on the schedule. So This next few weeks will be telling for Pittsburgh. Next game I want to talk about is the Bucs versus the Jets for a little bit, man. What a crazy game. And one of the things I kind of want to talk about here is Baker Mayfield. He's really starting to build an MVP campaign here. Another game-winning drive was what I talked about last week on the podcast. I made a short clip about it on, Thursday? Baker Mayfield is one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the NFL. I'd go to say right now, he's this season, I'm not saying all-time compared to Mahomes or anything right now. This season, Baker Mayfield is most definitely the most clutch quarterback in the NFL as of currently, as it's saying this. The game looked lost. The blocked field goal for the touchdown was just absurd. I was watching on Red Zone. I was like, what? What just happened? You have Aaron Glenn going down like a maniac down the sideline, running with the team and all, dancing, doing all this, and they still end up losing the game, end up driving. Chase McLaughlin, one of the more underrated field goal kickers in the NFL. I think Tampa Bay fans are going to be happy here and be saying that because he is really, really, really one of the more clutch kickers, one of the better kickers because he just seems automatic from 50-plus yards. I don't necessarily know his field goal percentage from 50 yards and out, but it's got to be pretty high. I mean, every time I see him kick a 50-yarder, the ball kind of comes off his foot weird, but he is he's a hell of a kicker. The dude is a hell of a kicker, man. The Bucs got a gem in that guy. They should not let him go for a long time. But I thought the Jets with Tyrod yesterday actually played pretty decent. I said Tyrod Taylor's not going to blow your socks off kind of quarterback, but he will just keep you in games, and he'll come through and win some games for you. He's just an old school kind of just grinding out, winning. He's a veteran. He's the definition of a veteran backup quarterback who could be a starter in the NFL for some teams, but he's just a backup. And a lot of guys, he's a guy who these teams, when they get a younger quarterback, they're not going to kind of want to mess around with Tyrod anymore because he's not going to win too many games. But if you need a guy to step in a few games for you, he'll keep you competitive and he'll end up pulling out some gutsy wins for you. Even though he didn't end up pulling out the win yesterday, but they should have won that game. And the Jets, this is their season in a nutshell. They're going to be competitive, but they're going to finish with a bad record. But it's not going to be Aaron Glenn's fault. I'm sorry, Aaron Glenn has his team looking a hell of a lot better than it did this time last year. I think Robert Saleh was fired. I think they literally fired him in week 3 last year, like week 4. And it was pretty much over at that point. Would they hire Albrecht or something? It was over by then. I mean, the Jets last year was just a clown show, an absolute clown show. And they look a lot more, uniform. This team looks great. I don't want to say great, but great to where they were from last year, or where they were at last year. This team looks a lot better. They look like they have a real head coach back there. They just don't quite have the team to compete at all. In terms of winning games, in terms of competing, staying in games, they do. But there's a difference between staying in games and winning games. And they don't have the roster to go on and win games right now. And that tells them their record. They're 0-3. Could they have beat Pittsburgh? Absolutely. But they didn't beat Pittsburgh. And that's kind of where the Jets feel like they're at is, well, they could have beaten Tampa Bay, but they didn't beat Tampa Bay. Should they beat Tampa Bay? Yeah, probably. You get a kickoff with not a lot of time left or a blocked field goal touchdown. You should win the game. But you didn't. And that's going to be the Jets season in a nutshell. They'll probably finish with like 4 or 5 wins. But Jets need an all-season or two to really put this thing together. And I think hopefully they don't move off Aaron Glenn too fast. It's the kind of coach they need. Energetic, played for the organization years and years and years ago. And definitely seems like he has some sort of culture building there. And that's what the Jets need. And what the Jets haven't had is a culture builder. And when they had Adam Gase and they've just been through a freaking plethora of just bad coaching. I don't know if I necessarily put Robert Saleh in the category of really Adam Gase level coaching, but he wasn't great. I mean, at the end of the day, he didn't really win any games. He wasn't really working with much. Zach Wilson was a disaster, so I'm not necessarily going to put it all on him. The way Robert Saleh is coaching that San Francisco 49ers defense right now has them 3-0. That's because his defense is just incredible. He'll get another shot at being a head coach again. Whether or not it's in 4 years, 3 years, maybe 8 years down the road. Maybe he just wants to take a break. He's a young, energetic kind of guy. Hopefully he doesn't get hired to an organization like the Jets, but teams that are looking for head coaching openings usually aren't very good teams. Don't be surprised you see maybe Pete Carroll ends up retiring or something like that. You see Robert Saleh's on the phone. Carolina, Dave Canales, even though they had a really good game, but Raheem Morris, I can't imagine he's going to be the Falcons head coach next year. I just can't imagine it at all. I'm going to talk about that game in a little bit, but yeah, Baker Mayfield's really building that MVP campaign, man. I think Baker could win MVP. I mean, his stats, the way he just goes out there, if Tampa Bay did not have Baker Mayfield, they might be 0-3 right now. The way he leads a clutch drive, most other quarterbacks can't do. Most can't do it. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. But, I mean, if you were to even replace him with Kyler Murray, this team might be 0-3. And Kyler Murray is just extremely questionable at quarterback. He's 2-1 with the Cardinals right now. Could argue he should be 3-0 yesterday. Marvin Harrison Jr., what a disappointment he's been for that team, man. Horrible. But Baker's building that MVP campaign. And like I said, even if you were to replace him with Kyler Murray or I'm going to be honest with you, even Sam Darnold. I like the way Sam Darnold's playing right now, but kind of a guy who's similar to Baker, kind of on the comeback, on the uprise, which Baker's not all that anymore, man. I mean, Baker's playing at the highest levels, peaks of his career right now. I think even if you were to replace Baker with Darnold, this team would be 3-0. So that goes all, he is extremely valuable. He's the most valuable player to his team and arguably the most valuable player for any team in the league right now. I mean, there's maybe 4 teams that wouldn't trade their quarterback for Baker Mayfield right now. And that would be the Chargers, Mahomes, Allen. There's a short list that wouldn't trade their quarterback for Baker Mayfield right now, man. So he's building an MVP resume. He really is. And Bucs and Jets yesterday, Emeka Egbuka, what a catch he had. He had a one-handed catch down the sideline. A lot of people criticize them for picking him in the first round. Like, you guys need secondary. You guys should have drafted Will Johnson, Malachi Starks. You guys should have drafted someone else right there. And they went all in on their receiving core. And Mike Evans being hurt, walking in the locker room. I don't know the extent of that injury yet, but that could be kind of worrisome. Mike Evans getting a little frail. Seems like now the last couple of years he's getting some bad injuries, always limping off, going off, missing a couple of weeks. So Mr. Reliable's kind of seeming like maybe he's sort of the Mr. Frail a little bit, kind of, I don't know, kind of losing that reliability kind of thing going on. But when he plays, man, he's a weapon back there, and this team's getting Godwin back soon. So Bucs and Jets, man, great game, 29-27. Vintage, just crazy. Just a wild game. And one thing I want to say, too, is that you notice every time Jonathan Vilma and Kenny Albert announces a football game, it is the craziest football game anyone has ever seen. It is. They announced the Raiders Patriots when Chandler Jones had that ridiculous they were doing laterals. It was a few years ago and took it back. Go back and look at a majority of Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma's games when they announce it. It is a ridiculous game. I took a notice of that. Every time, and I heard Kenny Albert say at one time, it says, well, we get all the crazy games. I was like, bro, I noticed this before you, fam. Every time you guys are announcing the games, it is wild, the turn of events that happens in their games. It's crazy. So if you haven't taken notice of that, just say if your team is playing and Jonathan Vilma and Kenny Albert is announcing that game, get ready for a crazy, crazy turn of events in your game. Seriously, be ready for it because it's every single time they announce a game. Next game I want to talk about is Browns and Packers. I want to kind of go over this briefly because not really too much excitement happened in this game. Finishing score 13-10. Neither quarterback played great, man. Jordan Love did not have a good game. Cleveland's defense is the real deal. They were the number 1 unit coming into yesterday's game. Even though they let 40-plus points to Baltimore, but that defense is legit, man. Myles Garrett is still playing like he is in his prime. He still is in his prime. Mason Graham, their first-round pick this year, looks good, and they got a couple first-round picks coming up next year. Now, I will still say Flacco did not play a good game yesterday at all. I still think they need to give Dylan Gabriel or Sanders a chance, to be honest with you. I think people are probably in the Browns' phone about Shedeur Sanders right now. You got some quarterbacks really getting injured. Cough, cough, the Bengals. They need to look for another quarterback. I think They might be trying to get, I made a video about them trying to get maybe Sanders or Jameis Winston. I think those two could be Bengals in a few weeks because Jake Browning is not a hit, fam. So I think the Browns, I think they should switch up their quarterback a little bit. Still, Joe Flacco, he was in the game, ended up getting the win. He's going to start next week, but the offense is a slugfest. And he's not working with much as it is anyway, but he can't move. And I figured against the Packers, their defense, they only let up 13 points. I mean, their defense played a good game. That was not on the defense. That was on the offense. Yeah, this is stagnant, man. And Jordan Love just didn't have a good game. He really did not have a good game. And that's kind of took the Packers off their pedestal a little bit. People are really on the Packers big time this morning, saying, oh, the Packers, people talking all this about the Packers really showed who they are yesterday. I think one bad game, a trap game, doesn't necessarily make a team early in the year. I think the Packers obviously are still a playoff team. And I think a lot of people still think that. But this was telling. I think this kind of got the Packers off of the, you know what, dude, we're looking to get the number one seed. Like, kind of just take it as, let's win games. Let's win a string of games against teams that we should beat first. Of course, they're still going to be competing for the number one seed, but this team goes down, kind of stinks it up the next few weeks. Packers are definitely going to take a massive roll back in terms of standings, and they definitely took a hit in people's standings here today, or yesterday, excuse me. Browns played a good game. Of course, man, their defense played great. Their offense was not good. Their offense was not good at all. Anyone tries to argue with that, man, I don't know what to tell you, but. Like I said, I think the Browns should try to maybe start one of the younger quarterbacks. So at some point throughout the season, I know now they're 1-2. They're maybe looking at making a run. I can't necessarily see it, but yeah, man, Browns, Packers. What an upset! Took me out of my survivor poll too. By the way, I took the Packers thinking like, hey, this should be an easy win, and then the missed field goal was it blocked or missed? It was one of them. I can't remember for some reason. I have a vision in my head of it being blocked or missed. I think it was blocked though, and it's just what a brutal game for the Packers. That was brutal. That really was brutal. You can't afford to lose games like that. You just can't, especially when you talk to the number one seed. That game's going to come back to haunt them later on in the season. I think Detroit wins tonight. I think the narrative on Detroit and Green Bay will be completely flipped in the matter of 2 days. It'll be crazy to see. Next game I want to talk about is Eagles-Rams 26-33. I remember looking up at the scoreboard, looking at the game, and I was like, dude, the Rams are kind of putting it to the Eagles. Like, people are already going to have talks about the Eagles. Well, Jalen Hurts is more tush pushes than, was it 5 or 10 plus yards, passes thrown? Are they overusing the tush push? Is this team really something to be feared? And kind of looks like the Rams kind of took that narrative and said, this team ain't nothing. And if they're not tush pushing, if they don't have Saquon Barkley going off for 150, 170 plus yards, this offense is nothing. We want to put it in Jalen Hurts' hands to win this game. And Jalen Hurts had an amazing comeback game yesterday. He did. He played a great game. A.J. Brown, they finally used A.J. Brown, and he looked like a man amongst boys out there on the Eagles and Rams playing field yesterday. Multiple plays of him just shedding tackles and throwing people on the ground. I was like, not only was that just because of the kind of receiver he is anyway, he's one of, if not the most physical receiver in the NFL, just physically dominant out there. But he looked pissed off. Like he looked angry out there. He was like, you know what? People are talking about this and that. I want to leave Philadelphia. Whether or not he actually does is completely up to him. But people are saying he should leave Philly. Is the guy washed? Some people just said he's washed up, which I don't think really most people believe that, but people are going to make a news story out of anything, of course. He looked pissed. Like, it looked like he was like, you know what? I'm getting the damn ball now. There's a reason I should be getting 100 plus yards a game. Give me the football. That's the kind of runs and just catches he was making out there, man. Like he legitimately kind of put the team on his back for a stretch there yesterday. I'm just watching, and he looked angry throwing people to the ground and breaking tackles yesterday. He was done when they finally took him down. He was all up thumping his chest. Like, A.J. Brown's an expressive dude, but at the same time, he's kind of a calm demeanor. He looked pissed off. Like, he really just looked angry, and respectfully so. Like, he should be getting more touches. He's in the prime of his career. He may have another 2, 3, 4 years left of his prime. So, Eagles and Rams, man, what a great game. Rams, definitely. That's a tough loss for the Rams. That is. Felt like they were just about to move up in people's top 5 teams. Really be like, okay, the Rams are legit. And then they just fell right back down to earth. And it kind of collapsed on them fast. It was like a meteor just came in and extinct everybody there for a little bit, man. I mean, their earth just came falling down on them quick, fast. So that really sucks for Los Angeles fans and just the Rams in general. I forget who was it on their team. It was a linebacker. It was one of their better ones too. He didn't end up playing because he had a bad Philly cheesesteak. I don't know if you guys seen that on his story. What was his name? I don't know. Just if you look up the article on Safari or something, I'm sure you'll find it. Forget his name for some reason. I was talking about it for a majority of the day yesterday. I thought it was pretty funny, but I mean, not funny. It sucks. He's sitting there in the hospital bed from eating a bad cheesesteak, talking about these nasty ass Philly cheesesteaks. I was like, oh my God, man. It was one of their better defensive players. You wonder if they had him, it maybe actually made a difference. Whatever restaurant tried purposely poisoning the man. Oh my gosh. Obviously I don't think they actually did that, but there were some rumors about that going around saying, did they purposely poison him? He's one of their better defensive players. Obviously I don't think they did that. I'm not ever going to accuse anyone of doing that because they could get in serious trouble. But it just happens, man. That just sucks. Eagles Rams 26-33. Jalen Hurts really proved to a lot of people, man. He's the man when it comes to coming back and clutching up games. He was pretty clutch yesterday, man. He proved he was pretty clutch, and I thought Saquon Barkley would be more the star. I mean, the last 2 games he's had against the Rams in his career, he's at over 500 yards rushing. That's pretty insane, to be completely honest with you. That's pretty nuts. That was a really good game yesterday. Really like that. Eagles 3-0. See some people still say, the Eagles, well, they ended up coming back and winning that game. This team's fully beatable. No one's scared of the Eagles. And I kind of agree with that to an extent. I think the Eagles still are the team to beat as of the moment. Whether or not, they look completely, unbeatable or whatever. Teams winning football games still. I mean, I don't even know the last time they've won a football game or lost a football game. It's been a long time since the Eagles have lost a game. It really has been. And they're just on a roll. They have been absolutely rolling right now. So whether or not you think the Eagles look beatable, more beatable than last year, whatever, they haven't been beat. So it doesn't matter how beatable they look. You got to beat them first. And they haven't been beaten a long, long time. So the Eagles are the team to beat right now in the NFL. They just are. Whether or not how good you think the Bills are, the Ravens are, whatever team you think is how good, and up there in the Super Bowl echelon, the Chargers, the Packers, even though people probably don't think that as much with the Packers now, man, the Eagles are the team to beat in the NFL. They proved that yesterday against one of the top dogs in the NFC, coming for their throne of the number 1 seed, and what looked like they could have taken it from them. They didn't. They came back, showed poise, and came back and won that football game. So Eagles still are the team to beat, man. And a lot of that Jalen Hurts talk is probably going to go away after, or not really. People just don't think Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback. But we're going to quiet the crowd at least a little bit, probably. Who knows, though. Next game I want to talk about, or the next 2 games I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about them very briefly here. Panthers versus Falcons, 30-0. Not too much to talk about this game, but this is more about the Falcons losing 30-0 to the Panthers. You guys know one of my takes, hottest takes, scorching hot takes, the NFL season was Bryce Young being an MVP candidate. He has played a very good 4 quarters. He has played an extremely good 4 quarters. Could have easily come back and beaten the Cardinals last week besides Flag Fest. If you guys watched the game, the last 5 minutes of that game was just the referee show. Just absolutely wild that game last week was with the Cardinals and Panthers. But Bryce Young, man, really looks like he's coming to life. 30-0 feels like the best Panthers win in a long, long time, especially against a divisional foe. Michael Penix Jr., man, bad, horrible game yesterday. Horrible. I'm not taking it against him, but a lot of people are saying, well, Michael Penix is a great quarterback. Michael Penix is one of the best quarterbacks on the draft. He hasn't really shown shit. He hasn't really won anything. I don't know his quarterback record, but it's not great right now. And we said Caleb Williams' quarterback record isn't great. Drake May's quarterback record isn't great. The only 2 quarterbacks that have a really good quarterback record is Bo Nix and Jane Daniels right now. Those are the only 2 that have it. I think as time goes on, these guys will catch up. But I don't necessarily feel as comfortable saying that with Michael Penix as I do probably Caleb Williams or Drake May, to be honest with you. And that's not necessarily Penix's fault. I seen a take yesterday, and I completely agree because I was thinking the same thing. The offense that's called for the Falcons is not called in Michael Penix's play style. One of the things Michael Penix had coming into the draft a few years ago was he is one of the best deep ball throwers and could be one of the best deep ball throwers in the entirety of the NFL. In Washington, that was his forte. Up to Odunze, up to Polk, up to McMillan. These guys throw them the football down the field. And he's a guy who loves pushing it down the field. It's a lot of just dink and dunk crap. Just underneath, Bijan, screen pass, Bijan to his right. It's just a lot of just not Michael Penix's play style. And that's not Penix's fault. That's why I'm not highly critical of Michael Penix, because he doesn't look comfortable out there in that offense. Penix wants to sling the football. He's a pocket passer. He's not much of a dual threat quarterback. He is a guy who wants to push it down the football field, who you get him out there thrown out of the numbers. Penix is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He should not be throwing constant dink and dunks 5 yards here. They have Drake London going only 8 yards down the field. Like, dude, he's 6'5" and played basketball at USC. Put him outside of the numbers, and then Penix throw a deep ball to him down the sideline and throw a jump ball. These two should be out there just dominating out there with just these jump contested catches. Penix will spot it a majority of the time. This offense is just playing in a little just squeezed ball right now. And when it should be massive. I mean, this offense should be just out there absolutely humming. There is no reason this team should have 0 points against the Carolina Panthers. I'm sorry. I do think the Panthers are better than they were last year, but getting beat 30-0, and your roster is way better than Carolina's roster. And maybe not necessarily way better, but we can all agree the Atlanta Falcons roster is better than the Carolina Panthers roster. This game should not be 30-0. And I think that comes on head coaching. The coaching staff in Atlanta is letting this team down. Raheem Morris is not a good head coach. He is not a good head coach. The defense he coaches, last week against Minnesota, myself, I'm guilty. I was like, okay, maybe this dude's found his forte. If he can coach a good defense, which is what he's supposed to be specializing in, is coaching a good defense, then maybe this Atlanta team could be legit. The offense finds their wheels, gets their train on the tracks. This defense plays like they should. They have good names on defense. You have Terrell, the safety? Fuck, I forget his name for some reason. Bates, Jesse Bates. I could want to say Simmons. I'm like, it's Simmons. Why do I keep thinking Simmons? Jesse Bates. I was thinking of Jeffrey Simmons from the Titans for some reason. I don't know why. But there's names on the defense. This defense should not be as bad as they are. And I think it just comes down to coaching and personnel in that organization. There's talks about them. I remember, on the podium yesterday, they were talking about Kirk Cousins. You going to start Kirk Cousins? And he said no. And respectfully, so I would start Kirk Cousins over Michael Penix. But they should have, this is the kind of things that the Falcons are doing. You need to ship off Kirk Cousins. Why is he still on your roster? I know you're paying him a ton of money right now, but he should be on your roster. It's awkward. The players, they like Kirk Cousins as a person, but it's very awkward tension in the building. Now you're already having talks of, should they put back in Kirk Cousins and bench their young quarterback again? You never want that. Especially with teams getting injured right now. There's talks of the Bengals getting Kirk Cousins. Just ship him. Get him off of your football team. It's decisions like that are killing your organization. The Falcons, realistically right now, should be a pretty consistent 10-11 win team. And their roster is good enough to do that. But this personnel is holding this team back. Michael Penix is being held back. I will be the first one to sit there and say that. A lot of this is not Michael Penix's fault. They are not having him played to his strengths. They're having him just play like they just stuck Josh Johnson in there or something, just throwing dink and dunks to 2 yards in front of him to Bijan and let Bijan work 8 yards down the field. It's lame. Their offense is lame. It genuinely is. I do have guys everywhere. Kyle Pitts. That way they're not Kyle Pitts is really the elite tight end. he was drafted at his position to be is, questionable, but he's a good tight end regardless. He can produce. London, Darnell Mooney. I mean, it's people everywhere. And the offense is playing like they have no one out there. They're not playing to Penix's strength. I explained that a little bit ago, and it's killing him, and it's killing Michael Penix. Michael Penix just looks miserable out there. There is no visible emotional Michael Penix. It's just literally that. You see him on the sideline. You see him take his helmet out. He doesn't care. And I don't blame him because he's not playing how he should be playing. He should be out there slinging the rock, pushing it down the field. That's what Michael Penix does. And the Falcons aren't letting him play like that. And it's showing in a 30-0 score. And now you have people talking about whether or not they should put Kirk Cousins back in. The organization's a mess, man. I don't know what else there is to say. After coming off such a high point against the Vikings last week, now they're in probably the lowest point they've been in a while. It's crazy how fast it comes falling down, man. Next game I want to talk about briefly is Texans versus Jags, 10-17. Texans fall down to 0-3. Game they needed to really stay in the mix. Texans are probably going to miss the playoffs. I'm going to have a talk about C.J. Stroud. I think C.J. Stroud is, people are talking about the offense can't move, this and that. Stroud's regressed. Whether or not how much he's regressed into being a bad quarterback or whatever, he's not even near. His rookie year felt like it was like 10 years ago. His rookie year feels like a long time ago. This is not the same C.J. Stroud we had 2-3 years ago at this point. This is a different quarterback. Now, I'm not necessarily saying he is bottom 30, but he's a bottom half quarterback right now. I can't argue C.J. Stroud's a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. Now, his offensive line is not great, but he is missing throws. He's missing receivers. You go back, you watch the tape. There's guys out there he can have, and he's missing throws and weird decisions. I don't know if it's maybe the play calling, something in the building. He's not meshing well, but Stroud's regressed. And I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if it's all on him as much as it is the play calling. The offensive line is bottom half of the league, bottom tier of the league. But their offense can't score. They literally cannot score. I'm not seeing an offense quite so bad since maybe the Patriots last year. So, but yeah, I mean, the Texans' offense is probably the worst in the NFL right now. I'd say it is. I'd say their offense is freaking horrible to watch. I mean, it's not like he's throwing out there in the scrubs. He's got Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz. They drafted a couple receivers really high. Higgins. I mean, they have weapons there, man. It's a C.J. Stroud just not reading the field well. I mean, DeMeco Ryans looks pissed off. He looks like the life has been drained out of him. C.J. Stroud, for one, doesn't have that fire he had in him. He used to be out there, man. He had some swag to him and everything out there a little bit. He does not have that anymore. C.J. Stroud just looks lifeless out there on the football field. And that explains their offense in a nutshell. Their offense is lifeless. You have to wonder, are they going to give C.J. Stroud this massive extension here next year? He has another year left before you have to talk about signing him to a big-time contract. If you're the Texans, can you really get yourself to sign him to $200+ million? Can you get yourselves to do that? Cash out your organization to this right now? I don't know. I don't know if I can. I mean, he's regressed. Now, I don't necessarily think all of it is his fault. Like I mentioned, the offensive line is not great. The play calling does not seem to be within his favor, but he's missing throws and making bad decisions. He is. I mean, he had a terrible interception yesterday. Yeah, I mean, it was just terrible. That was what I thought was the worst interception of the day, was C.J. Stroud's interception. Cost him the game. I mean, this team struggles to get into double digits. They scored 9 points against the Rams. What they have last week? I think they had like 14 last week. They had the Nick Chubb run, but their defense kept them in that game. It wasn't for the defense. If it's not for the defense, this Texans team is literally getting blown out. So, DeMeco Ryans, none of this is on DeMeco Ryans right now. This defense is being coached hard. He's keeping the culture alive, but that offense is lifeless in Houston, man. Houston's done. I say there's no chance Houston makes the playoffs right now. 0-3 is hard enough to dig yourself out of, more or less than what you have. You don't even feel like you're even near the best team in your division alone when your division isn't very good, as it is anyway. You probably have one of the worst divisions in the NFL, and you don't even feel competitive in your own division. That speaks volume to me. So, yeah, Texans are one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. Definitely. Maybe not defensively, but offensively. They should have beaten the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday, and the Jags did not play a good game yesterday. It's not like the Jags went out there and torched them. The Jags didn't play a good football game, and they beat them. And the offense, once again, is the issue for Houston. Yeah, I wouldn't give up on C.J. Stroud next year and say, you know what, Stroud, let's ship him off. I'm done with Stroud. Let's trade him next year. Give him another offseason and a draft, and really go heavy into your offense in the draft in the offseason, because the Texans need it. I'd give C.J. Stroud another year, but if it's another year like this next year, I'm not signing C.J. Stroud to some $200 million contract. Now, if you wanted to take a team-friendly deal, now who are you going to replace C.J. Stroud with? That's the thing. Unless you're picking high in the draft, or you trade for Baker Mayfield or something, which is not going to happen. That's the thing, is like, people talk about Kyler Murray. The question mark is like, should they ship off Kyler Murray? Well, who the hell are you going to get that's better than Kyler Murray? Who can you replace him with? There's no one to really replace him with. So that's why you're kind of stuck. And that's why teams like the Houston's now kind of stuck. Like, you can't really replace G.J. Stroud unless you can definitively find somebody who is better than him, or you think in the draft who is going to be better than C.J. Stroud. You're going to have to sign him to something that is that's going to be kind of cash-strapping your team a little bit. But there's no way in hell I would sign C.J. Stroud at $250 million if you had to today. I take my chances drafting someone in the 5th round than putting C.J. Stroud. Now, in fairness, C.J. Stroud, 2 playoff wins in 2 years. He's led the team to forms of success. But the way things are going right now, and he did not play great at the end of last year. He did not have a good season at the end of last year. A lot of that was because of their defense. That Houston Texans defense, they were about to not make the playoffs. They barely finished 10-7. So, and their division was so bad last year. Jacksonville, horrible. Tennessee, horrible. Indianapolis was really bad, battling the whole Anthony Richardson thing. So, and now that you see their division has gotten a little bit better, they're not even competitive in their division right now. They're not competitive in any division right now. Like I said, they're one of the worst divisions in the entirety of the NFL. And, it's just, again, I'm not trying to bash Houston, but this is a team who people and a lot of betting leagues and stuff took Houston pretty definitively to win their division. I made a video a few weeks ago about Houston before the season started. Like, why is no one talking about Houston? Like, this team, you got Stroud, you got Nico Collins, you got these receivers they drafted in the 2nd round, basically the 1st round. It took them a couple picks out of the 1st round. But their defense, coached by DeMeco Ryans, who I think is one of the better coaches in the NFL, is just completely sucking right now. They just suck. Like, this team sucks. So, in terms of the Jags, though, one thing I will say is, like, was it really worth giving up 2 first-round picks for Travis Hunter? I don't think so. Like, Travis Hunter, I think at first I was kind of like, yeah, dude, they got Travis Hunter, but kind of look at him on the field now. It's like, this was not worth giving up 2 first-round picks for at all. Like, you can't play him on every single defensive snap and offensive snap. Like, if you could, then I'd say it'd be worth it, but you can't. They're not doing it. So it's like, in practice, it wasn't really a good idea. And maybe they should have just ended up taking someone else. They are 2-1. Hunter had a pretty okay game yesterday, but he's not blowing anyone's socks off. So I don't know. I think they're going to regret giving up 2 first-round picks for Travis Hunter if they haven't already. It's just, again, he's not playing bad football, but is this guy really worth 2 first-round picks? They're 2-1 right now, going to be competing for their division with the Indianapolis Colts, who have completely blown me away through these first couple of weeks of the season. So, yeah, man, Texans, Jags, doing what it takes to scrape out some wins. Should be 3-0. Should have beat the Bengals last week, but they completely choked that game away. Doing what they can to scrape out these wins, and they're taking advantage of these not so great teams they're playing right now. So good for them. 2-1 on the season, and Jags, I don't know who they play next week, but I have to look. Last game I want to talk about here today, Bears versus the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, man, Caleb Williams, breakout game, the game he needed, the game I think every single Bears fan has been waiting for over a year now, was this game we seen yesterday afternoon. And one thing I want to say with the Cowboys, I've been saying yesterday was a perfect example of how I think the Cowboys season is going to go. It is going to be a roller coaster ride. The first week against the Eagles, off their Super Bowl win, Super Bowl contending team, obviously, Super Bowl favorite in the league right now, I'm sure. They go out there and they should have beat him. If CeeDee Lamb could have remembered how to catch the ball, the Cowboys would have won in week 1. They played a great football game. Week 2, last week against the Giants, had no business really winning that game. Giants played really good on offense, a ton of crazy, just deep shot and catches from Malik Neighbors, touchdowns all over the place. Russell Wilson, a career game, and they go on to win that game. We're like, dude, how the hell do we win that football game? There was no defense played in that game, which the Cowboys' defense is a real issue. Their defense is a real problem, and and then you have yesterday, where they didn't even look like they should have been an NFL team yesterday. They were terrible. Dak looked bad. George Pickens all throwing his helmet on the sideline, and the defense was getting obliterated yesterday. That's going to be the Cowboys season, is this. This roller coaster is going to be like this all season. I bet you next week they'll play a good game. And I said they're going to be competitive. And then they're also going to have games. I said they're not a pushover team. Now, yesterday they were a pushover team. They were terrible yesterday. I'm not denying that. They were awful. But bet you next week they'll come out and play great. Maybe not great, but good and be competitive. Whether or not they win or lose is up in the air. But yeah, it's crazy. This is going to be the Cowboys season. I predicted this, man, like this. It is literally going to be like this. So you're like, how the hell they almost beat the Eagles? They go and beat the Giants and score 40-something points, and then we don't even put up 20 points against the Bears. They get blown out by Chicago. So it's crazy. That's going to be the Cowboys season. Now, people were saying that they should have kept Parsons. I'm going to be honest with you. Regardless whether or not they kept Micah Parsons, this defense would stink. Their secondary sucks. They get torched on every single deep pass down the field. You had the flea flicker yesterday. Russell Wilson put in what was 500 yards against them last week. Look at Russell Wilson 14 hours ago. He was atrocious. He couldn't throw anything down the field. He just threw interception after interception in the end zone on these deep moonshots. Malik Neighbors in the Chiefs' defense was absolutely locked up, but Russell Wilson was horrible. What he's been the last 2 or 3 years now, a bad quarterback. And the Cowboys defense made him look like what he was in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. Prime Russell Wilson. Yeah, that Cowboys secondary is a real issue. And that's where I think, honestly, they won that trade with the Micah Parsons, Michael Parsons trade, because getting those couple first-round picks, you got to put in your defense. You have to put it into your defense. I think that'll help them more, because I think even having Michael Parsons right now wouldn't do a damn thing. This defense is bad. And Matt Eberflus, guy who always sticks around, who is not really good at anything. Again, he talks a good scheme. You look at him, I bet you, when he's in any building, you're like, dude, this guy would be a hell of a defensive coordinator. Then in practice, then in game, he's terrible. He's a bad head coach and he's a bad defensive coordinator. So, yeah, it kind of reminds me of like on a high school basketball team. You have a guy in practice who is just flashy. You know, he does all the right things, or he's just as flashy as it gets. You're like, dude, this guy should be all counting. And then it gets to being in games like, dude, this guy's terrible. Can't do anything right. He doesn't know how to play with his team. He doesn't know how to do anything. He can't move the pieces well at all. He can't move the ball. He can't pass. He doesn't know when to pass. Taking ill-advised shots. It's like Matt Eberflus. I bet you in practice and just in scheme in general, man, he can coach up a great scheme in practice, man. This guy, you talk football with him. He's one of the best football talkers you've ever heard can coach a defense. Well, you get out to coach a game. He has to go out and coach a game on defense, and his defense stinks. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing against who he's playing against. So, again, when he knows what he's playing against, like I said, in practice, he's playing against the Cowboys offense, I bet you they're like, dude, this guy is an amazing defensive coordinator. This guy can really coach a hell of a defense. You get out there in a game against Chicago, and he just sucks. It's like, bro, who the hell is this guy coaching our defense right now? So, that's kind of my comparison to that, man. But the Bears, Caleb Williams needed that game yesterday. Bears fans, I know, were happy as hell to see that. I got some friends that are Bears fans that are through the moon right now, through the roof and to the moon right now, man. He needed that game. Good for him. You got to talk about Tyson Bagent starting, man. You're not doing something right. I bet you he's been hearing them talks all all week and for a long time now. So good for him, man. Hopefully that is the start of something. He needs to stay consistent for one, because we talk about Caleb Williams. Man, he plays great for this drive. I don't want it to be, well, he played great this game, and now he sucks the next 3 games. So, just have to stay consistent if you're Caleb. If you can play like this, man, you got that job secured in Chicago for a long time. So good for the Bears yesterday. 31-14 win for them. They took real advantage, man. They played a great game yesterday. Good for Caleb, and good for that offense, man. Ben Johnson, that was the coming out party for him and Caleb. I'll tell you that. Flea flickers, crazy wildcat plays everywhere, all over the field for the Bears, man. Great game. So that is it for my reacting to the Sunday's slate of games. A little bit over an hour episode here today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like today's video, make sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button. It is so greatly appreciated. I can ask my girlfriend or anyone around me, drives them absolutely nuts that every 2 seconds I'm constantly refreshing my YouTube. Like, I want to see if I got a new subscriber. I want to see you all view my stuff. So that's greatly appreciated, guys. And thank you so much for your support, for sticking around. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you have any thoughts, make sure to leave them in the comments. And I will see you guys tomorrow on Top 10 Tuesday. Take it easy.